While we are still alive, in childhood we must be diligent in learning, diligent in studying, reading and writing. We must be able to sustain our lives through our own mindfulness and wisdom. We must do our work with thorough mindfulness and wisdom so that we can support ourselves and our families. And that which we must learn even more about is Dhamma. We must have Dhamma and make our hearts more valuable and have more worth. Our speech must be improved. The time we have each day should be used beneficially, not wasted or postponed. See the importance of the lives of people around us, having kindness and compassion for one another. If we have no kindness or compassion, this world becomes a place where living together is difficult and full of hardships. Therefore, kindness and compassion are good qualities that should be cultivated. Some people have cultivated them throughout the entire year, all through the year that has passed, because the Buddha taught the merits of goodness. Cultivating the mind with loving-kindness meditation makes one beloved by humans and deities alike. There will be no one hating or resenting us. We cultivate the mind and radiate loving-kindness in meditation. Sometimes the great noble teachers would walk on Tudong in the forest, where there were tigers and lions and people using black magic. But the great teachers would take refuge in the triple gem, Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, together with cultivating the mind through loving-kindness meditation. Then nothing could harm them. The deities protected them. They were happy both when waking and when sleeping. They had no nightmares, only good dreams. They would not die from weapons or poisons. This is metta, loving-kindness meditation. This is important. When we cultivate it regularly, what will happen? The water element within us improves. It crystallizes more beautifully, as has been demonstrated in research. It is expressed in physicality. But in truth, it really is like that. Those who cultivate a heart of loving kindness will have bright and radiant skin and complexion. Their meditation becomes calm easily, without obstacles. When they die, they pass away with mindfulness, not in delusion. At the very least, they will be reborn as deities, and higher than that, they may become noble ones. Beyond that, it is called entering liberation of mind through loving kindness, through which one can enter Nibbana by means of loving kindness meditation. This is important. We must continue to cultivate our minds, just as we have done throughout the year, and with only a short time left before this year ends, we should keep trying. Create goodness, create happiness for yourself and for others. It will have an effect on us indeed. We will be loved by deities and by all humans. Our minds will become better, brighter, and noticeably lighter. And what about the long-term effect? The peace and strength of mind that we accumulate little by little. When it gathers together, it becomes powerful. Sometimes it comes together without our intending it to, and it becomes very powerful. What we have been meditating on, when danger arises, the concentration, the samadhi will gather on its own, without deliberate effort. I once had an experience. I went to practice in the forest and encountered snakes, large ones, even king cobras. I wouldn't have time to intentionally cultivate loving-kindness meditation. The mind gathered instantly, It became samadhi, concentrated immediately. It became still straight away. Where does this come from? It comes from having trained in samadhi, concentration beforehand. When the time comes, it will gather together automatically. This is something that happens. It is a good result of training the mind in loving kindness, meditation, and concentration. One sees the result and is able to escape safely. Sometimes I encountered a herd of 30 elephants. They did not harm us. They could sense our loving kindness meditation and that we expressed our friendliness. They do not harm us at all. I stood right in the middle of the elephants walking towards me. They walked along the road. There were forests on both sides, and as they walked, I stood radiating loving kindness. The elephants flicked both their ears, acknowledging it. They did not cause any danger. They do not want to harm humans. When they do, it is because they are afraid that humans will hurt them. When they are startled, they react because they have been mistreated and harmed repeatedly by humans. It becomes ingrained in their hearts, and when they see humans, they charge. Therefore, when we cultivate a mind of loving kindness, we can easily avoid danger and remain safe. Thus, we must train ourselves in this practice. Metta, loving kindness, is love and goodwill towards others. In our profession, we act with kindness and honesty. We practice restraint and have loving kindness towards our only spouse. We uphold truthfulness and sincerity in our actions, speech, and mind. We maintain mindfulness and clear comprehension at all times, avoiding anything that would break our mindfulness. This is called having the 5 precepts. These 5 moral virtues protects our minds, and we have loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. We possess these 4 Brahma viharas, and we are complete in morality, concentration, and wisdom. This means we are people who do not live carelessly, who are not heedless about our lives or our age, thinking, I am still young, I don't need to go to the monastery yet. Life is uncertain, anything can happen, nothing is guaranteed. Whether aging, sickness, or death, none announce their arrival. People fall ill from a young age, and many die young. Therefore, we must firmly cultivate wholesome qualities, so that we may have the mindfulness and wisdom to teach our own hearts and to not be heedless. And then we reflect on the kindness we have received. How have we been able to grow up to this point? Through our father and mother, who have great virtues towards us. They forbade us from doing evil or harmful things. They tried to protect us from danger, to keep us established in goodness and spiritual growth. And they tried to provide us with arts and knowledges so that we could stand on our own. Parents cannot stay with us forever. They do their best to send us to school so that we may gain knowledge and ability, enabling us to pursue a profession, support ourselves, and later support our families. If they possess wealth, they share it with us according to the stage of life in which we should receive it. We must also behave in a way that is worthy of receiving such inheritance. Therefore, parents can be called the Brahma gods of their children, or even the venerable arahants of their children, because they always show loving kindness towards them. They care for and raise their children with compassion and concern. Whenever a child suffers or faces hardship, they cry only for their mother. Young children, whatever happens, always call, "Mother, mother, mother" first. The father has to go out and earn a living, while the mother stays to protect and watch over the children, cooking, washing clothes, doing all sorts of things. And when the child succeeds, the mother is overjoyed. If the child passes an exam, she is happy. If their grades improve, she is happy. When the child gets a job, she is delighted. Everything brings her joy. When the child faces suffering or hardship, behaves badly, or no matter who comes to criticize, the mother remains equanimous. She never adds to the child's misery. She waits, hoping that one day her child will become good. Such hope is not easy to hold. Consider the mother of Venerable Angulimala. Angulimala had killed 999 people, and King Pasenadi was preparing to march out with his army to subdue him. But how was his mother? How was her heart? She was never afraid of death, not for herself. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid her child would die. So she went into the forest to stop him, to tell him to flee quickly, because the king had set out with an army, and her child surely would not survive. One who is a mother cannot bear such a fate, and she went to warn her child. But the child, at that time, was blinded and clouded. He would not have cared even if it was his mother. Seeking to attain the supreme mastery of his craft, he might have had to kill his mother, which would have destroyed his chance of attaining arahantship. Thus the Buddha himself went to save and teach Angulimala. This is the extraordinary compassion of a mother, willing to die in that moment so that her child may survive. Therefore, the mother is always one who supports her children. She is the one who gives to her children. Whatever there is, she lets the children eat first. She has a heart full of goodwill towards her children. Her speech is gentle. She continually embraces and raises them, carrying them, leading them by the hand, feeding them food and water, bathing them from the time they are little. Only when they're able to dress themselves will she begin to let go a little. She protects them from dangers of all kinds, constantly doing what benefits them, sharing both happiness and suffering with them. She will stay with the child, and if the child has not yet fallen asleep, the mother can't sleep yet. If the child is hungry, the mother cannot eat. Thus it is said that having children is like having a noose around one's neck. Having a child, it's like a noose around the neck. One cannot swallow a bite if the child has not eaten. This is the first kind of noose. And having wealth is also like a noose around the feet. You cannot go anywhere. Having wealth that keeps increasing, you feel unable to leave because you would lose income if you go anywhere. And having a spouse is also a noose that ties the hands. Why? Because one must work to earn a living and support the family. These three nooses bind tightly around the neck, the hands, and the feet. It becomes difficult for a person to break free. So we must occasionally step out to train, to practice, to sit in meditation, to cultivate the mind. Only then will benefits arise for ourselves and for others. This is something important. Thus, no matter what, as children we must have gratitude and repay the kindness of those who have virtue to us. Such a person is said to be rare in the world. both the givers, father and mother, and the receivers, the children. But in this present era, things have changed. People say, "We didn't ask to be born." The newer generations say they never wanted to be born into this world. Since the parents made them come into existence, the parents must therefore raise them and give them everything. They say they have the right to demand anything because they did not wish to be born. If parents caused us to be born, then they must take care of us. They have no right to scold or blame us. And so the parents end up becoming like karmic debtors instead. We have to contemplate if this is really true. Parents do not wish for bad children to be born. They want good children to come into the world. Those who are immoral or lack virtue, they don't wish for such children. They only want good ones to be born. But the person who has been born has come to be born by themselves. It's not that the parents brought this particular being into existence. They came on their own. They entered the mother's womb on their own. We did not invite them. They came by the force of their own karma. In summary, beings come according to their karma. It's not that parents deliberately caused us to be born here. We have defilements, craving, ignorance, clinging, and thus we take birth on our own. We cannot blame our parents for that. This kind of thinking, blaming parents, is selfish. Speaking this way shows no gratitude, no appreciation for those who have benefited us. Even Venerable Sariputta, the great elder, living under the shade of a tree, felt gratitude towards it. See, he recognized its virtue. And an elderly Brahmin who once offered him just one ladleful of rice in his alms bowl, and Venerable Sariputta still acknowledged the virtue of that kindness. From that he accepted the Brahmin as his student, trained and taught him until that old man was ordained and became an arahant, who was actually easy to teach and receptive. This is important. Those with wisdom recognize the goodness and kindness that others have given them. Therefore, throughout this past year, now that the year is drawing to an end, let us reflect. Living in this world, we see that some of us have gained fortune, while many others have lost it. There is wealth, and yet sometimes floods, fires, disasters, earthquakes come, and things collapse in an instant. This whole world is uncertain. Gain, material possessions, status and rank, these can all disappear. All the gain, status, praise and happiness, they come as pairs with their opposites. Loss of fortune, loss of status, criticism and suffering. These paired conditions in this world are called loka Dhamma, the worldly conditions. We must always reflect that since we live in the world, we must inevitably encounter all 8 worldly conditions. So we should not let these worldly conditions dominate our hearts. And how do we avoid being dominated by them? By practicing meditation and cultivating the mind. But merely wishing is not enough. Wishing for gain, wishing for status, wishing for praise, wishing for happiness. Only wishing. And when one dies, one wishes to go to heaven, but without creating any goodness. Wishing for wealth, wanting fortune to fall from the sky, such things can't happen. One must have effort and diligence. One learns and works with mindfulness and wisdom. One must create goodness in order to have honor, merit and authority. Only then is one worthy of receiving such status. Isn't that so? These things do not come easily. They must be built by oneself. If one wishes for a long life, one must cultivate the body to be healthy. Whatever is harmful must be avoided. Whatever is beneficial should be done. Then our health improves and our lifespan becomes longer. Or if one wishes to go to heaven after death, but does nothing, doing only unwholesome actions, yet still hopes to go to heaven, that is opposed to the law of karma, that good karma produces good results. One must do good to receive good. We must perform wholesome deeds, do good things, and think of good things. Only then can we reach heaven easily, without difficulty. It's not that we do nothing, make no effort, and not even rejoice in the goodness others do. Then how could we go to heaven? We don't do good ourselves, and when others do good, we obstruct them or criticize them, saying, "Why do you bother to make merit?" So let us all accumulate and cultivate goodness. Now that the year is almost over, let us continue doing good through this year and into the next. May all of you have happiness, prosperity, and growth in the Dhamma.